Hi Merrin, today we're going to be talking about Athletics Australia in general, and here's Joanne with an overview of Athletics Australia and its junior talent.
Thank you, Adam. Okay, so the important thing to know about Athletics Australia was that it was founded in 1879, and they have brought out a strategic plan in 2013 which runs to 2016, so over a 4-year duration. And their 4 main key areas were participation, high performance, competition and commercial. And from this plan, they want to increase their participation. And the way they decided to do that was by increasing their club capacity, their junior programs. They wanted to join with Little Athletics Australia, increase their running and their disability programs. Key information about Little Athletics Australia was that they were founded in 1992, so that's 22 years ago. And their mission is to develop children of all abilities by promoting positive attitudes and a healthy lifestyle through family and community involvement in athletics activities. However, there can be a negative to both Athletics Australia and Little Athletics Australia. Little Athletics Australia has been around for 22 years, however they have only just decided to join this year, early March this year to be specific, and that group will be called Joint Athletics Management Group. So I guess from a positive point of view and the way it'll be effective is that according to the strategic plan, this is the only thing that Athletics Australia has really achieved out of all of its goals. The only goal it has achieved is by joining these 2 associations. Up until now, Athletics Australia has been known to focus on its elite performances and its athletes, whereas Little Athletics Australia wants to focus on its participation, increasing its grassroots and how to get kids to participate not only in community levels, but however competing in clubs, such as here in Doncaster, such as in Taylors Lakes, such as anywhere that can be found. So I guess a positive that can be seen by these 2 joining is that the funding can be spread evenly across both 2 associations. However, will this joint actually be effective? No one will know, because whether Athletics Australia will actually stick by its participation in juniors will be one to try and figure out.
So next up we've got Nick talking about the elite pathways of junior development all the way through to elite performance in Australia. Take it away, Nick.
Alright, beautiful guys. So first of all, we've got entry level in Australia. So first of all, the first entry level would be through schools. They will have throughout all the states, they've all got their own school programs to just first of all bring into health and wellbeing for the young kids, starting from prep, which is quite good. Second of all, we've got the club level there. So what they've done is throughout Australia, they've spread out all the clubs. So for example, down here in Victoria, or for where I live, you've got Essendon, you've got St Bernard's, and they're all different clubs that you can go join. And they've actually got a lot of clubs set up just so for the public, so then they can actually access it as well. So they're making it more accessible for the public. And lastly, we've got Little Athletics as well, which is, they actually introduced that at 5 years old. They get a taste of, all the young kids get a taste of all the events, but they're all modified as well, because obviously they're really, really young, so you can't push them at a young age just yet. Alright, from there, we've got state championships. So obviously that would be, for example, I think everyone's gone through, so to say you're in year 12 and you're really, really good at sports, you would actually go to the next stage. Obviously you have like your private schools and your public schools collectively get together and they'll have a competition. So you'll have like your 100, 200 and all your track and field events together. And that's how they determine whether, if you're good enough to compete at a higher level than that. From there you'd have for example for Victoria, you'd have the Victoria Institute of Sport. You also have that for every single state. So Queensland, New South Wales, also South Australia as well, just using it as examples. With that there, they actually get their teams together, the best of Victoria, and develop the best team going, and what they do is respectively they would all compete against each other to see if they are quite able to make it for nationals. From there, it is the national level. With Athletics Australia, they conduct events all around Australia. So what they do is they get the cream of the crop and they get the best of Queensland, the best of Victoria, the best of South Australia and all the other states. They get them together and they organise events and they work out whether, if you're good enough to go to the Olympics or go to the Commonwealth Games and compete for gold medals. Now the only problem is that the AIS is kind of competing with Athletics Australia just a little bit. the way it works is Athletics Australia, they always have meetings with AIS to consider whether the athletes are good enough to compete in the Olympic Games and Commonwealth positions. And that's pretty much it right now. I think it was in the was a Bloomfield report. They actually said that it is a bit hazy up the top, and it is to work out the fine line between who's actually in charge of the athletes when they get to the AIS or the Athletics Australia, because the AIS doesn't actually accommodate for a lot of the athletes. But that's about it. So yeah, hopefully that's a good overview.
Paddy's up next with talent identification. So now we've got Paddy talking about Athletics Australia's process of talent identification for juniors all the way to the elite. Take it away.
As we've seen, like Nick said, about the entry level from primary school students, mainly around the ages of 5 to 12, the process to get into the elite stage is actually quite good, and the pathway that has been developed by Athletics Australia is actually quite solid, and the foundation's there for a solid performance at Olympic Games. However, as we can see in past results at the Olympics in London, the results in terms of medals isn't quite what the Australians want and athletics has achieved. Outlined in the Australia's Winning Edge, a policy document made in the late Labor government in 2012, we can see that the process that Australia wanted to get to was to be in the top 5 for Olympic gold medals, and in Commonwealth Games wanted to be number 1. At the London Olympics, we only achieved 1 gold medal in athletics and 2 silver medals. So the process to get to the top 5 in the world is actually slipping off in that department in terms of athletics, where the medals aren't being made up in swimming and sports like that. So what we see is a drop-off is when we get to around this stage here in the VIS, where we see a drop-off in athletes and a drop-off in funding in terms of development and coaching and areas like that, where the talent that has been identified at that junior level coming through state programs and international events is actually dropping off. So we get to the cream of the crop, we'll say, in terms of athletes here, but they're actually not being nurtured into becoming the cream of the crop in the world. So the elite athletes, I'd say, is a bit of a weakness in terms of talent identification, that we're not getting the results that we want to see as a nation. Outlined in the Australia's Winning Edge and outlined in the gold medals that Australia wanted to win at these major events. So, yeah, do you want to
conclude that, is the pathway of your junior athletes to elite levels effective? I believe so. With the entry level for the system for grassroots, I think having 3 different main core key components for entry with schools, clubs and little athletics is great for Australia-wide. Reason being is because having the clubs, so many different clubs located around Australia, makes it easy and accessible. Schools as well, from a young age, getting that involved is very, very good as well. Little athletics as well gives the kids a chance from 5 years old to really get a grasp on the different sports that they might want to partake in. And also as well, I think that is effective because, for example, the Victoria Institute of Sport, how they group all the athletes together, the best in Victoria, and the same goes for Queensland, the same goes for South Australia, the same goes for New South Wales. It's actually a really good system for all to bunch them up together, the best athletes, and then from there going to nationals and having Athletics Australia work out events to see who is the cream of the crop, who is the best in Australia, and then from there able to go to the Olympic Games and the Commonwealth Games.
Hi, and last up today we have Adam, who will be presenting and talking to us about the fund and how it relates to Athletics Australia.
Thanks, Joanne. Well, like most sporting organisations in Australia, Athletics Australia strives to manage 2 divergent obligations. That being its constant striving for success on the international stage, as well as increasing those participation rates at the community level. The Australian Sports Commission generally appropriates this funding, and how they do this is by monitoring Athletics Australia's performances on the international stage. High Performance normally has received recently an amount of 7.5 million, whereas participation programs around the nation have only received roughly around, or just below 300,000. A better model or a more efficient model might indicate some sort of spreading out of funding towards the participation rates, as those participating programs tend to identify junior athletes at those grassroots level. Cheers.